Actually, Dayquil and Nyquil are owned by Jigsaw. Just like, hey, if you want it, you got to get through some shit.
Do you want to feel a little better?
How'd you have a Jigsaw just ready to go?
That's the power of Dayquil, baby. Welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Coffee McBlightson.
That was maybe the most sick I've heard you do this intro before. You sounded so sad.
Yeah, I feel fine. Last week I cursed myself because I was like, I think I might be getting sick. I feel fine though. Which is almost an invitation for the universe to just instantly cast a hex.
Absolutely.
On you.
You just have to assume, oh, I'm sick. And then the universe will spare you.
Yeah. It'll have a little pity on me. But no, I laughed in the face of fate and I was cast down into a poison swamp.
Miyazaki was down there's like, welcome.
This is your home now.
Yeah.
I feel fine now, but I'm at that stage of being sick where there's just a lot of extra noise coming out of me.
It's like there's two audio tracks coming out of Chase right now.
Yeah, I'm recording in stereo. One of them is the normal audio, and then there's just a track called Sicky, which I don't really know what goes on in there, but there's a lot more noise than normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I didn't say it, but I'm David.
Yeah, I didn't say it either, but I'm Chase.
Okay, great. We're here.
Normally, I feel like I have kind of a quiet laugh behind me. Like when I'm laughing pretty hard, it's almost silent. But now we got the.
Yeah, you got some guttural timbre to your voice now.
Yeah, sort of sound like an old prospector talking about video games.
We're all talking about prospecting games this week.
God, ain't that old pinball game that came with Windows pretty damn good?
There really were two audio tracks coming from your voice just then.
That's what
from
I'm
your
saying,
throat.
dude.
It's two chases.
Yeah. But you know what hasn't changed in the week that I was blighted and sick?
What?
It's these video games, man.
They're still good.
They're still good.
A great companion when you're sick, truly.
Yeah, I will talk about that later because I went on a journey with some of these video games while I was melting into my sheets.
I was about to say, oftentimes when one of us is sick and we do a recording after we are sick, it's just like, I've played so many games.
A little spoiler alert for that section. I tried to play a lot of games and failed to do so.
Oh, too sick?
Too sick.
Dang.
It's a rare limit. I feel like that's the measure. Like my wife was like, "Are you good? Like, do we need to go to the doctor?"
Yeah,
usually you're up.
I was about to say, if I saw you like that, I'd be taking you to urgent care probably.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is serious.
It's the canary in the coal mine. If the PlayStation 5 is off, you got to take me to urgent care.
Yeah, it's like you know your pet is sick when they're not eating their treats.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of me stopping eating.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's not interested. He's not interested in Resident Evil 4. I don't know what's happening.
I put the Steam Deck in his hands and it just fell out. This is not normal.
I just paw it away from me. No, I don't want it right now.
Yeah, you just turn over in bed. Everyone behind you is just shocked. It's like, I'm calling the ambulance now.
What did you play in the last week, David?
What did I play in the last week? Played a couple of very fun games. A handful, I should say. Actually, it's more than a couple.
Okay, yeah.
Still playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes, of course.
Mallory and I tried to really plow through that one for a bit because she is now gone for like 3 weeks solidly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be playing Baldur's Gate probably until the new year, most likely.
I was going to say, are you going to abstain from gating?
Oh yeah, I can't gate without her. I did contemplate like making a new save.
I was going to say, you could start a new character. I feel like that's within bounds.
Yeah, I might do that. I might like ratchet up the difficulty because we're playing on the lowest difficulty, so there's no multi-classing. So I want to try. I want to do some multi-classing.
Yeah,
I got some ideas. I want to make some weird shit and just see what happens. Do a little like avant-garde Baldur's Gating in a bit here. And see what the world brings me.
It's about the classes you don't play with the kind of shit you're cooking up.
Exactly. I want to just do all the classes that I don't know anything about. I want to be a cleric, or no, a monk. A monk. Monk sounds cool.
Yeah.
Just like hit people with my fists.
I've seen so many monk builds where they get like 10 attacks or something totally fucked up like that.
I'd love that. I'd love to be like a dwarf monk or something like that.
Yeah. I just want to explain what I was saying, like jazz, like the notes you don't play. I was saying like the class you don't play, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah. You play the rest.
I felt like
you
it was
play
a
the
really
rest.
good joke, and it just kind of sailed right over, and you're like, yeah, that's fine.
I thought you were just saying like just play all the classes you don't play now.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
I got that, but I was just like, all right, come on.
Chase needed to revisit the joke, everyone.
Yeah, can we just go
back? It was a good joke. Now this is where you cut to playing that joke again, and then insert me going, you are so funny.
Thank you. Wow, that was awesome. Thank you for your reaction to that joke.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're very witty. I love the wittiness.
It's all the Dayquil. It's propping me up.
It's all the Dayquil. But you just hit the NyQuil, so there's going to be a battle going on in your body soon here, I think.
Oh, to be clear, you said, did you take NyQuil? I was saying I take NyQuil like in general. Not at this very moment. If I had taken NyQuil before, like as we started recording, the outro would be incomprehensible.
That's what I thought you meant. I was like, oh man, okay. So we really do have a time frame now.
We have like 90 minutes before this is not a conversation.
We are
anymore.
speed running this podcast today for certain. But yeah, maybe I'll try doing starting a new character and just playing the game in a different way.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when Mallory and I play, Mallory has a looting lust and a bloodlust when she plays these games. She just wants to steal everything and kind of just like shank everyone. If there's something that she wants that someone is selling and it's too much money, she's like, well, I could just kill them. I'm just like, wow, okay. That teaches me a lot about my partner.
Yeah, what would happen if like, laws weren't a thing?
Exactly. So it's kind of terrifying sometimes, but I also respect the hell out of it. So I'll see, maybe try and play the game a little bit differently and see how that goes. Yeah. But still a great game. Baldur's Gate itself, once again, I feel like I'm finally grokking the actual city. It was just so overwhelming at first. And they just dropped a new patch too, which makes it much smoother of an experience to be in Baldur's Gate. You know, it was really getting a lot of slowdown for a while there, which was a bummer. Didn't like break the game or ruin it for me, but definitely, you know, if you're going around and you're like at opposite ends of the city, like, man, you could really just be walking through some molasses at some point. Yeah. But great game. Super fun. Really into it. I've also been playing, I played the last 2 cups that were released for the Mario Kart booster pack.
Oh, nice. I haven't even touched them at all.
They're fun. They're good.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I just love playing these booster packs because all of a sudden I'll be playing a level that I haven't thought of in a long time. And I'll be like, man, I love this one. I'm still hitting the same turns, the same drifts. And it's funny how much, or not funny, but I think it's interesting and somewhat concerning how much space is taken up in my mind by Mario Kart tracks and like my muscle memory of how to drift around each turn.
It's still in there.
It's in there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Because I think it was, what was it? It was Rosalina's Ice World is in the first cup that they just released of these last 2. And that was one on Mario Kart 7, I believe, on the 3DS, which is probably one of my favorite Mario Kart before 8 came out. Yeah. And that was probably one of my favorite tracks on it. And it was all still there. And this game came out, oh man, that more than a decade ago, I think, Mario Kart 7.
Yeah, for sure.
A while ago.
Like 8 is almost a decade old, so
exactly,
surely
right?
7
So
is.
surely 7 is older than that. But yeah, it's still just so fun to have more games. And they've pretty much added a whole entire another game on top of what they already did at this point. Yeah. The only question I have at this point is where do they go from here with Mario Kart? Yeah. Do they turn it into like a Smash sort of situation where they just bring every character in there? They're kind of doing that now. They have Diddy Kong, they have Funky Kong. There's Pauline is now in this one, who's awesome because when she goes off of a jump and is gliding through the air, she'll sing her.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's so good. And Funky Kong, when you hit a boost off of a jump, he will like go on his surfboard and like do a little twirl with like water coming out from behind him. They really put a lot of care into this, and they also gave your Mii character a bunch of different costumes in this last pack, so you can be so many different characters. But they really put a lot of love and care into these, not just the levels, but these new characters that they have put in the game as well. They don't feel like just a throwaway add-on. They really gave them the animation and the characteristics that you would expect from these characters that are beloved, truly. Yeah. So well done, Nintendo. This is the way to do a DLC. I've really, really enjoyed this ride. And then when the credits rolled for the DLC, I got a little emotional. I was like, oh man,
yeah,
Mario Kart 8 finally in the books after almost a decade.
It does feel kind of like they're done at this point.
Yeah, with this game, I think they are done. I think they're done with this Mario Kart.
I'm with you. I don't really know what would even conceivably be next.
Right.
Because it's hard for me to imagine them just being like, all right, we're going back to a game that has like 8 cups total and everything we just did is like washed away. Although I guess, I don't know. Nintendo is so hard to predict because that could be the case. But
exactly.
If they're putting out a Switch 2 within the next like year or two, it's hard for me to think of them doing that without having some Mario Kart game on that console.
I feel like something that they could do to follow Mario Kart 8 would be like Double Dash 2.
Yeah.
For Switch 2.
Just do something like totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. Just make a direct sequel to Double Dash.
Yeah.
And just that, I think that would be different enough, but otherwise I don't.
Double dash?
Double dash?
Double
dashel?
I also have to imagine, and this is not a confirmed thing, so it could actually not be true. I have to imagine that the Switch 2 or whatever it is backwards compatible. I feel like they would just be shooting themselves directly in the foot by doing that, which like is well within Nintendo to do that. They've done that before.
Yeah.
But I just feel like with the sheer amount of success that the Switch has had, the sheer amount of like software that has been ported to the Switch, it would feel kind of crazy to not let shit be backwards compatible, because then they can still continue to move on and like do more stuff rather than like, okay, here's like the next wave of ports that we're putting out for the Switch 2 that were also available for the Switch 1. And like they could do that because money, but still, I feel like that would be the case. And if that is the case, then they would kind of still have Mario Kart available if you could play it on the new one and it's just this version, but maybe it's like a complete package or something.
Mario Kart 8 Ultra Deluxe with all the levels.
Yeah, Turbo Deluxe, Super Mario Kart 8, whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to imagine the next thing. And maybe that's just a lack of imagination, you know? They could do something completely different in the same way that they do with like their 2D and 3D Mario games. Like they're totally different things altogether.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the natural conclusion of this kind of Mario Kart and they're going to try something else next.
Mario Air. It's just a plain racing game with Mario.
Yeah. It's Microsoft Flight Sim, but with Luigi now.
It's just an ultra realistic flight sim and Luigi's just in the cockpit, still cartoony Luigi, flying over Sacramento, landing into the Sac airport.
I don't know how to fly this plane.
He's just doing the Luigi Death Star the whole time.
Yeah, and angry at all the patrons of the airport.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, Mario Kart. It's a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. Still is. 10 years later. Yeah. And then the last game that I've really been playing of note, and probably the game I've been playing the most recently, is Nier Replicant.
Yeah, you're kind of going hard on this one recently, I feel like.
I have. Yeah, have you seen me playing it when I'm online or something?
No, I feel like this has been coming up more and more, and I also feel like last time we talked about this game, you had said like, "Hey, it's getting very like Yoko Taro-ish, like things are happening."
Yeah, are you planning to play this game at some point?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm not gonna spoil too much, or I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but I will just say that the game has gotten very good. The game has gotten very, very good. The first section of the game can feel a little bit like a slog at first. Yeah. But then things really change quite a bit after the first like 8 to 10 hours, depending on how fast you're going. And then it really feels like, okay, this is the game that they made, and now here it is.
Right. Yeah.
And it's really good. It's just really fun. And it's not, and they still do that kind of that very Nier-esque gameplay mechanic where they really shift the camera around. They're doing things that are not like an action third person game at all. Mm-hmm. Some sections of the game are just text and you just have to like solve riddles and shit.
Yeah.
Which is very Yoko Taro and great.
Yes, absolutely.
So I've been just pouring hours into this game like the last 3 or so days.
Yeah.
Since I'm just in bachelor mode right now and it's just video games all the time.
You and Bruce.
Me and Bruce hanging, playing games, baby. 2 boys just doing our thing. But yeah, Nier Replicant, very, very good game. I'm enjoying this immensely right now. And I'm very curious to see where it goes, because that's the thing I love about these games is that I do not know the next turn that the story is going to take. It is unpredictable and weird, and I love it.
Sure. Yeah. I've got it downloaded, so I really should play it.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's doing the same stuff. You were the canary in our coal mine of playing Automata before me. So I feel like the tradition has to continue, and me also doing this and being like, hey, this is very good.
This is one of the greatest games I ever played.
Yeah. Automata really is, though. That game was fucking crazy.
I don't think this is going to be quite on Automata's level, but it is still very good. And I really enjoy the magic system in this game. I think I think Grimoire Weiss, who is the book in this game, who acts as kind of like the pod in Nier Automata, there's just more variation to what you can do with the secondary attack.
Mm-hmm.
He is like an actual speaking character in the game too, so it makes sense that he has more of a role in the combat.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just a lot of different things you can do with him and his magic system, and it's a lot of fun. I especially like the dark hand, which is just like a big red and black hand just like comes out of the book and just like punches people in the face, and it is always so satisfying when that lands well, and it always just breaks people's guards and knocks them down, and you can just start smashing them with your weapons. So there's just a lot to be said about this game, and I kind of want to save it until you finish it so we can.
Sure.
I'm expecting a little bit of gushing from you on this game.
Probably. We've known each other long enough.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to enjoy it. So I'll save a lot of what I want to say for whenever you start getting through it.
Okay.
And until then, I'll just say, Chase, play this game. It's very good.
Can do. I'll play it.
Watch. We're going to come back next week, and I'm still going to be playing through it, and Chase is done and like on his third playthrough.
I'm done. I finished. Yeah, it's totally possible.
Chase inhales games, and I gently nibble at them is usually how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know where. Like I feel like I summon extra hours every now and then to play games.
Pretty sure you have a time turner.
It's true, I do.
But that's all I've been playing. Chase, what have you been playing?
I've been playing video games. As suggested, I was sick, and so I tried to play a lot of things. I will tell you the things that I failed to play.
Here's the things I didn't play this week.
I tried a lot. I actually did play a little bit of Dragon Quest XI again, which was very fun.
Oh, okay.
But I'm like 20 hours into the game, something like that. And I just got to the part in that game where you get a boat and the game like opens up quite a bit. And my sick brain was like, oh my God, I'm not prepared for this.
This is too much boat.
Yes, like the quests go from being like, here's exactly what you need to do. To being like, look for evidence or something like that.
Brutal.
And like, that is exciting when I am well, right? Because like the world is grand and beautiful and amazing. And like, it feels like there's a hidden adventure around every corner.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was sick, I was like, oh God, I don't think I can do this right
Sure.
now. I can't.
But tell me more about the boat. I love a good boat in a video game. So what's going on with this boat?
It's an exceptional boat, I will say.
Love it.
I feel like normally in RPGs or anything like that, typically the boat that you get is kind of bad at first.
Yeah.
Like they're like, here's a shitty little shanty that you get to have for a bit. But the boat that you get is this like big, majestic, amazing boat.
Nice.
With a dude at the helm who's not Yangus, but he's a little Yangus. He's Yangus coded. He like says a lot of the same shit that he did that Yangus said in Dragon Quest VIII. So like just before you get it, essentially you run into this dude named Sylvando who you pick up in
Sylvando?
Sylvando. He's a mouthful of a character.
It's a great name.
You should look up pictures. He's like essentially like a jester, but he's also like maybe like a rich guy too, because he has this big ass boat. Yeah, he's a hoot.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
He shows up and is like, yeah, I can help you guys out. Seems like you're on like a just quest here. There's also these dudes pursuing you who are like pretending to say like you're essentially the monster that they're trying to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like 20 hours into this and I played 19 of those hours probably like a year and a half ago. So
sure.
Speaking in broad strokes. But yeah, Sylvando takes you over. He's like, I can help you with your quest to like find all these like items. Essentially, we just have to get to this town and find my ship. And eventually, you do that. There's some side stories that happen. You get the ship, and then the game like fully opens up, and it is like, here is Dragon Quest XI. Here's the exciting shit that you're gonna do. And I'm very excited to get to that. Like once
20 hours in,
it's probably a little bit less than that, but yeah, it's a little bit deep.
Sure.
I feel like they do a good job of establishing kind of the the world and the beats and like how your adventure is going to take place, and then open it up to you. And like you see that in a lot of JRPGs, especially like Final Fantasy RPGs, where you get a like an airship eventually, where it's like you've traversed kind of like half of the world already, and here's your airship to get around the places that you've been. But checking the map and where I've come from, at least thus far in Dragon Quest XI, it is the map is huge compared to the places I've already been. So it definitely filled me with this sense of like, wow, the whole world is opening up to me, but like I'm a little sick bean and I'm gonna lay in bed. I can't go on this adventure right now. So I did not do that.
Hey guys, this looks sick, but I need to pass.
But I'm gonna head out. I'll get back to you. I foolishly momentarily downloaded Elden Ring because I thought like maybe now is the time to get back into that.
Wow. Just like, yeah, let me get really into the shit and my sickness.
I thought maybe that was the salve that I was looking for. Like maybe punishment is the thing that would help me right now.
Punishment will make you feel better about your actual corporeal being.
Yeah. Spoiler, it did not. I made a character, wandered out into the world, got killed by a dragon, and I'm like, no fucking way, dude. Absolutely not. It just like, I was already looking up like, all right, what do my builds need to be? And I'm like, there's just so much more brain power than I have the capacity to do right now.
I respect the shit out of you trying that, though.
Yeah,
I really respect that.
Honestly, I think if I had done like Bloodborne, that would have done fine.
Your muscle memory with that one would just carry you through.
Yeah, it would take over. Yeah. But like Elden Ring is a whole thing. I looked at my other characters and it was like 80 hours in one and 40 in another. I'm like, I don't think I have the capacity to do this. Whereas like I could probably beat Bloodborne in like 10 or something like that.
10 hours? Maybe a few.
I bet. Yeah.
Oh. Can we start having you speedrun Bloodborne, Jace? What's the Bloodborne world record speedrun?
The speedrun, the number one speedrun right now is 18 minutes. I have no fucking clue how.
18 minutes?
Yeah.
What?
I have no clue how that is the case, but I guess it is.
There's just got to be some sort of massive glitch that people take advantage of to like just randomly teleport to like the very end.
You put yourself to bed and you summon the nightmare of Mensis in your own nightmares.
There you go. I am the nightmare.
Whoever can fall asleep the quickest is the best speedrunner.
Ooh, it's like a elementary school sleepover rules.
Sleepy Time Bear about to be the best Bloodborne speedrunner.
You gotta take the NyQuil for that.
I did. Or he does. Maybe I am the Sleepy Time Bear. Okay, the games that I actually played.
Yes.
I played and beat Octopath 2.
Oh, damn. Cool.
Yes. I was not too far away from it after we had done our episode. I had like a couple more of the like final chapters from the people in the game that I hadn't completed yet, which was like maybe half of them. And then I had the like a couple of crossed paths, those like quests where two people do something together, which are like usually much lower stakes than the rest of the other quests. It's kind of like you could imagine the episode of Dragon Ball Z where Piccolo and Goku get their driver's license. Like that's a perfect example of a crossed path quest.
A filler.
A little bit. I think it's intended to allow these characters to like hang out with one another and contrast with one another too, because like the pairings of them I think are perfect. Like,
what was your favorite pairing?
It's tough because they all bring something, right? Like Oswald and Particio are like the most opposite dudes could be, which is very fun. But like, I also found Ochette and Casty's crossed paths like incredibly sweet, because like Ochette's like just very empty-headed a lot of the time and is like just running into any sort of danger.
Casty is the exact opposite.
Yeah, Casty's kind of like self-aware and thinking about stuff and shit like that. And so a couple of the beats that happen in there are just like very nice, and you can feel the care for the characters towards one another there, which is it's really cool. So maybe that one. I think that one kind of stuck out to me.
Sure.
But but there's also Throne and Temenos too, which like another great pairing, right? Like two characters who are Throne is very more clearly lax with her ethical standards, you know?
Sure.
Like, she seems to have them, but like murder and theft are sometimes things that are permissible for her. And like Temenos purports to be like a man of God, but is also like kind of lax with some of that stuff, you know? Like he's not as like the picture of like a perfect godly man.
They both have flexible morals.
Yes,
flexible
exactly.
Ethics.
Which is fun. It's fun to see them kind of kick that around a little bit. But so that was all very fun. And then I will say that there is one sort of final quest after you've beaten all those things where the characters interact like to a huge high degree. They're very much like all talking to each other and all dealing with this single quest.
Cool.
Which is very cool. It's very fun and pulls together a lot of things that the game sort of like hints at for most of the game. There's a lot of stuff that's just kind of like bubbling throughout the game and isn't necessarily resolved with any one character's story. And then a lot of that stuff is pulled in towards the end where it's like, hey, you thought this thing was weird. It was. And here's why it was weird.
Gotcha.
Which is really fun. It doesn't feel like cheap or that they're trying to like pull a big twist at the end. It's just like pulling together strings that do actually feel connected once you see them there.
So does it feel like does that ending sequence where everybody is kind of together doing the same quest, does it feel kind of like a crossover event almost?
A little bit, yeah. It's something that like up to this point, I've mostly been reading between the lines to get this kind of stuff, right? Of like how these characters are interacting, or like we talked about where they talk to each other during battles or seem to care about each other when they're like, you know, getting hurt or whatever, or in the crossed paths, or these sort of like banter dialogue that you can get every now and then. And so it's fun to see it sort of like clarify in this like high fidelity cutscene of them all talking and figuring out what to do and that sort of stuff, which is nice. Like I appreciate that. And obviously I think my knee-jerk reaction in that moment is, hey, I wish there was more of this. I wish this was the whole game. But I actually don't know if that's true. I think that would take away from this feeling of these 8 sort of distinct stories being so separate, and like the ability for each of those stories to hit such a specific tone would be a little bit lessened by that. Yeah. If like suddenly everybody is constantly there and always talking to each other and shit like that. And like we have games like that, right? Like I think most RPGs are like that. And some of those succeed and some of those don't. And I think that like a strength of Octopath is the variety of story and tone that they're able to bring to each of those stories. And so it was more of just like, oh wow, look at all these characters that I care about suddenly are talking to each other much more directly than I'm used to, which is neat. Sometimes it did feel like they were hamming it up a little bit, where it was like they would say the name of the character that they're talking to probably more than a person would in that situation, you know?
Don't you think that?
Particio.
Yes. Yeah. Like they're kind of trying to say like, look, they're all here. Everybody's here. They're even saying each other's names and stuff.
And then Sakurai comes out of nowhere. Everyone's here.
Yeah. Yes. Lanky Kong is in this one too. He's the ninth character.
The ninth traveler.
The Noctopath. So that was all very fun. The final boss absolutely kicked my entire ass for a long time.
I feel like that's going to be how it is. Yeah. It feels like it's going to be tough.
It's pretty tough. It was pretty hard. And I will say too that I had an A team in this game, like the team that I was leveling with and moving through and making sure that they were the big, strong boys. I did not have a B team or even a C team. I had a D team.
Oh God.
That were like my bench warmers. And the end of this game makes me pay for that approach.
You had one like level 80 Charizard and then like a level 5 Rattata
Dave, that is exactly how I played Pokemon the first time I played.
I know.
So,
I understand the way you play RPGs, Chase. I get it.
It's the same way.
You power level just a handful.
I've got level 70 Hikari and level 30 Particio or something like that. I think Temenos was genuinely level 40 when we pulled up to the end of the game. And the end of the game's like, no, you can't do that. Like, you got to fix that.
That's the Ralph Wiggum's meme. I'm in danger.
Yes, no, he definitely was. But even still, I found the end of the game really satisfying. I am like hungering for more for this game. But of course, like there isn't any. I've done the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I really hope that they are able to iterate on either this formula or this like level of confidence that they were bringing to this game. I just feel like there is no limit to the amount of like pretty okay and well-written stories all smashed together like this. Because like, just to reiterate again, none of these stories broke my brain, you know, they're all pretty standard stuff. I think Steven or Brendan, one of them on Into the Aether, were saying that like they feel like stories that you would tell one another around a campfire.
Sure.
And I think that really does serve this game well. That there is a simplicity to it in the way that like there is a simplicity to some of the Zelda games, right? The ones that are a little bit less story heavy, like they feel like myth and legend.
Yeah.
In a way that's fun and satisfying to play through. I don't need these games to bring like the most groundbreaking story.
Yeah.
But I do feel attached to these people afterwards. And so I think that's like a testament to the fact that even though they are simple and the beats are not necessarily brain bending, that they are still very effective.
Yeah. It's eight very well written origin stories.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and everyone loves a good origin story.
Yeah. Or even just like I feel like Agnes specifically is very good in the way that it's not like the world is ending.
No, low
kind of stuff,
you know.
It's very good. The
girl just wants to dance.
She just wants to dance, man. That's her passion. She wants to do it.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a great game. I was reading Willow Rose article over on Inverse about the best RPG of the year. This is the title. The best RPG of the year takes 80 hours to hit its stride.
Oh, man.
Which she's talking about Octopath Traveler too. Also one of the hosts of Girl Mode, another good podcast.
All right.
And essentially, like, part of what she's saying in this article is that, like, when she had reviewed it and played it earlier in the year, it, like, didn't hit her well. Like, she's like, I don't know if I like this game very much. And I think if I was tasked with reviewing it or had thought about reviewing this game like 10 to 20 hours in, I would have been like, I don't know if I love this, right?
Yeah.
But I think this game really does take a second to like get amazing. Mm-hmm. Like you need to be able to give it the amount of space and time that it demands, which is like hard to do sometimes, right? Like I don't have 80 hours for every game.
Yeah. Is that what it took you, 80 hours?
No, I think by the end it was like 65 or something like that, which like it feels about right. I didn't level everybody to the tippy top. I didn't do all the side quests, and I consistently always forever played in 2 times fight mode.
Sure. Yeah.
And so like, I was kind of flying through a lot of this, but and I think that's also reflective of both Brendan and Steven's experience on Into the Aether, where they were talking about how it's taken them a second to really appreciate this game. Mm-hmm. I think if I had played it at the time, I would probably have a similar arc of, you know, I kind of needed a lot of people saying like, you should give this time and trust it to do that, because I won't say that this game makes a bad first impression, but like, I think the parts of it that I really love took a second to kind of like stew and bubble.
What would those be?
I think it's the attachment to the characters, and I think it is the complexity of the battle system. Yeah. In that it isn't that complex initially, but it just slowly but surely starts giving you piecemeal a little bit more. Yeah. You get a new class, you're going to be able to do another passive with somebody else over here. Oh, I've got a weird accessory that will make this item that I had 10 hours ago actually really good, or anything like that. I think it's a lot of that stuff. And like, the battle system is just so fucking good that like,
it is really good.
The more that they layer on top of it, it just never stopped being fun.
Yeah.
And I think the more time that I spend with it, the more I love it, right? The more that I appreciate it, which is almost the opposite experience I have in any other turn-based RPG game.
Same.
Where like, eventually I'm just like, oh, okay, come on. This is the same thing it was 20 hours ago.
Press X. This is the move I want. This is my strongest move. I'm going to do this one. Let's go.
Yeah. Where I think this one is just constantly challenging you to change up your approach so many ways, right? There's so many different ways to change your makeup of your party, change your multi-class, change what their equipment is, or like what they're supposed to be doing or anything like that. That I think it just breeds a lot of, I don't know, like respect isn't the right word. I'm just having fun when I'm playing the combat.
Yeah.
I think just doing that enough makes me really endeared to the game, where, you know, I like it in 20 hours, but then when all of this just keeps happening over 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 hours, by the end of it, I'm like, geez, that was actually a really, really good experience. And it took me until like looking back at it in the same way that these characters are looking back at their experience at the end of the game to appreciate it. You know, it's good. It's a very good video game. It will be on GOTY somewhere. I don't know where, but it's in that list somewhere.
Absolutely.
The next game that I've been playing, David, is this game called Coral Island.
What is this? Is this a deck building roguelike?
No, it is a farming sim.
Another one of your favorites.
Yes. This is a game that's on Game Pass, which is very cool, very fun. Love a Game Pass game. It's made by this company called Stairway Games, which is a development studio out of Indonesia. So if you have played things like Stardew Valley or like some of Animal Crossing or like any other farm sim, you'll know what this is. It is a farming game where you show up on a ranch that's all dilapidated and you move to a new island full of a bunch of people. And the mayor's like, hey, here's 6 seeds. Here's like a net and a fishing rod. Figure it out, dog. And then you're tasked with farming more or catching a bunch of fish and making some money. There's definitely some people who can like upgrade your shit, upgrade your hoe or your shovel. It's like one of those games. And and I'll explain whether or not that's a good thing in a second here. So I think what is maybe a little bit different in this game is that it is a bit of a different graphical style. It's like fairly different, or sorry, it's like rendered in fully 3D. So like looks much different than Stardew Valley, right? Which is a mostly 2D game. So like I said, it wraps in stuff from like both farming sims and Animal Crossing, like something that you don't see quite as much or like isn't as much of a focus in Stardew is like the museum stuff and the bug catching stuff. Mm-hmm. It is in there for sure, but I feel like the way that they have structured it in this one feels a lot closer to what they were doing in Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Which is, that's fine. But just to kind of like set the stage of how I'm approaching this game, I've like played kind of a lot of these games. I wouldn't call myself like a cozy gamer or anything like that.
You're an enjoyer of cozy games though.
I think so. I've played Dreamlight Valley, which I will say this one also does kind of integrate some of the like NPC tracking that the game has, where you can see where somebody is in town pretty much any time, which is nice if you're like, hey, where's Alice at? Where's she be? Either that or I've played Dinkum or My Time at Sandrock or Roots of Pacha or Core Keeper or Fae Farm or Kinseed or Littlewood. Like I've played all of these games, and I think that this one gets maybe the closest to hitting that Stardew formula. Mm-hmm. And I think for better and for worse, right?
Sure.
So the things that I think are working and actually are pretty good here, most notable for me is that like this game does expand on Stardew in a few ways. Since in the preceding years since Stardew has come out, it feels like, hey, I wish there was this in that game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they came out in 2016, so it has been a minute. I will say that like there are way more NPCs in this game than there are in Stardew, like just tons of people in this game. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of nice, right? Like it makes this place that you have moved to, which I will say also, just like to describe the island itself, is like very gorgeous. It's a very amazing looking place. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the setup of this game is very strange because they're like, hey, this island is like not doing well, mm-hmm. right? Or like, we're not making enough money as the island, which is sort of strange because like it is a gorgeous looking place. Like it seems like there's no shortage of investment in this place, but still everybody's like, yeah, like the people aren't coming here to tour as much as they used to or whatever, but it's still like it seems like there is a lot of money going through here, but even still, that's fine. So there's a lot of people in here, which is great, makes it feel more fleshed out. I will also say this is neither a good thing or a bad thing, but all these people are so hot, David. Everybody's fucking hot. It's crazy.
It's a hot game, huh?
Yes.
What's it called? Coral Island? Let me see these hot
Coral Island.
Let me see these hot people.
Just look up Coral Island singles and it will bring you up a pretty significant list.
Singles?
Yes. Because it shows the people in the game who are single.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. They're all dying. Oh yeah, no, these people are hot.
They're all very hot. Which is like, it's fun. It makes the game a little bit more fun.
Everybody's ready to mingle.
Yeah, I think like that would, it seemed like that was definitely the dating part of that was definitely a priority in Stardew, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's so many very specific and unique scenes for dating people. But I think that was, I just feel like graphic novels have kind of like gone crazy in not like as a whole, but just like there are a lot of them in the last like 5 or 8 years. And something that I find very fun in a lot of graphic novels is that like, man, these people are hot. They're just so attractive. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I will also say not always in like what cis het ideals of what that looks like are.
Sure.
Right? There's a lot of different kinds of people and a lot of different body shapes in here. Mm-hmm. And they make them all look pretty good, which is pretty sweet. I really like that.
Yeah. Everybody is hot.
Everybody's hot. That's Sakurai's next Smash Brothers game. It's not everybody's here. Everybody's hot.
You're not going to be able to play. They're so hot.
You ever seen Rob and thought like, man, this robot could be a little bit more sexy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Rob is robbing my heart.
So that's fun. I think that's just like a fun twist to this already kind of established thing. There also is more than just the kind of like mining, farming, animal husbandry, dating, and fishing that is in a lot of these games. Mm-hmm. Those are in there, but there's a few more things that they have added that like, hey, that's a nice addition. Let's see. I feel like the festivals in this game are also very fun. I like kind of found them to be a chore in Stardew after a certain point.
Sure.
Like a lot of them are, hey, you need to bring like the coolest crop you've ever grown or you're going to be like shamed. Like people like, this shit sucks. I can't believe you would submit this to the crop festival.
Come correct or GTFO.
Yes. Where like, this one's like pretty fun. I did a tree planting festival yesterday, which was very cool in this game. It's like pretty neat. And I will say that also connects up to this larger, like kind of environmentalist, not thesis, but there's a through line throughout this game that is very environmentalist, which I do appreciate. Parts of the game are just about like cleaning up the reef around where you live, which is cool. And also like definitely like, involves some power fantasy of being able to just like clean up enough trash that you as an individual can solve this much larger problem. But even still, it does feel nice to do. And I will say that like there's just an overall really high degree of polish on like the actual art assets in this game. Like they just look exceptional in a lot of situations, which like, for the one-man team or whatever on Stardew, like some of that stuff isn't as possible. And I don't think that makes either game like better or worse, but I do appreciate that it's here in Coral Island. It does feel like, wow, I've got a very good idea about what this person looks like. A lot of the character art is in this sort of like kind of late 90s Disney style. If you can think like Lilo and Stitch kind of character design, kind of looks like that, which I don't know. I just really appreciate. And like I was mentioning before, because this company is based out of Indonesia, I think you do get sort of this like East Asian influence on a lot of the game, which goes for like a lot of the art, the iconography, and just like the people on screen are like a bit of a breath of fresh air when comparing it against like a strictly or a more traditionally designed Western game, right? I'm just more used to seeing stuff like the people in Stardew Valley or the kind of bodies that you would find in those kind of games. Whereas I it's not all totally different people, but it is nice to see a different variety than I'm used to and just different influences, right? I'm not nearly educated enough on like East Asian art to be like, this is from this or this is from that.
Yeah.
It feels different than the stuff that we normally get over here, which I really appreciate. I love that. But I will say that like, because they're so similar, if anything is off, it kind of feels like a bad in certain spots. Okay. And I think specifically the combat is kind of a low point for me, where it feels pretty like weightless and like you're not really doing much. Like when you hit people in Stardew, you kind of get this like bounce back where you hit somebody and you as a character. It's like when in Link to the Past or something, where when you swing with your sword, it pushes you back a little bit and pushes them a little bit back. And so there's this kind of like give and take where that just doesn't happen with this one. And not only that, but you just don't take a lot of damage all that often. And so like it leads me to feeling like, yeah, I guess I need to hit these guys, but I'm really never under a threat of dying because I run out of energy way earlier than I run out of health. And so part of it feels like this was an inclusion just because like, well, Stardew has it, so we have to have it, right? And it's like, I don't know if that's the case. Most of the time that you're encountering enemies is when you're mining. You're like getting down into like the mines and trying to find iron ore or whatever. And like, I don't know what you need combat there. It's okay. You don't need it.
Yeah.
It's not a required part of the fun formula there. And so like, I just think the game ends up being so adherent to the Stardew Valley formula that like there are some things that kind of get carried through that I don't know that they actually need to be there. And like I just would have preferred maybe a more, I hesitate to say original, but a different take, right? Just something that was like, I would have loved to see like what's your take on this? Like what is this like kind of environmentalist story that you're trying to tell? Like where does that lead us?
Sure. Right?
How does that change the mechanics in this game? And I think a lot of it is that I end up feeling like I did when I was playing Lies of P. Where like this is a really good version of something that like kind of exists already. Obviously like it's a new thing. Like Coral Island is not Stardew Valley and Lies of P is not Bloodborne, but it's like made in such a similar mold that it's like, yeah, like this is a very good version of that, right? Do I respect the effort of making this game? Yes, absolutely. Games are hard as fuck to make. And like both of those are achievements unto themselves for just like being a working piece of engineering, right? Yeah. And I'll also say, am I enjoying playing it and will likely sink many more hours into this game? Yes, absolutely. Like I'm in on this game. I'm playing a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so was I with Lies of P. I played that entire game. I played it to completion. And I think the thing that I'm settling on a little bit more and more, because I've been thinking about both of these games recently, is that like I think I just can't hold these games up as like the best games of the year, right?
Sure.
I don't know why it took me so long to get to that point and have that be the thing that I'm okay with. But that's sort of the end result of like my uncomfiness with Lies of P. Like I was really struggling with that game when I played it earlier in the year for the same reason, right? Of like, I can't say that this is the best game that I've played this year because it is, I've kind of already played it, right?
Yeah.
It's something that has come before, but at the same time, I'm loving playing it through, right? It's like a replay and a replay plus is kind of what it feels like right now. Sure. And I know that sounds kind of demeaning and I don't mean it to, because like I really respect the kind of like work that has to be put into this for it to make it come true. There's just a lot in there, I think. I was reading, there's this dude in the Discord named Kyle Labriola who had written this piece recently specifically about like cozy games. He was kind of digesting the moniker more than anything else, right? Like trying to work through like, does this make sense? Like, why are people uncomfortable and why am I uncomfortable with the phrase cozy games? He explains that like, for a while, we used to refer to these games as like wholesome games, and that sort of got pushed aside because a lot of people were uncomfortable with the fact that there was kind of like moralizing what you were doing in these games.
Sure.
And that like a lot of these games have things in them that are like very capitalistic, you know, like get more money, protect your capital, and like sort of conquer this place. Yeah, buy a gun.
Protect your family.
And so like that might not totally make sense there, but his other sort of thought was that like, in his words were, I don't think that this is any different than any other genre, right? That like the things that you're seeing with this quote unquote comfy genre are very similar to things that have happened in other genres. And I think I mostly agree with that point of this feels like a lot of other things. It just also feels like the early days of that genre.
Sure.
Which is something I feel like I was trying to hone in on that. I think it puts it in a pretty clear point there, or Kyle did with that piece, because like my hunger levels for these games has been quite high.
Yeah.
In a way that has also been the case for deck building roguelikes and like FromSoft likes and shit like that. And I think under the lens that Kyle had presented there, it seems like, well, yeah, like I also remember a time when like first person shooters or like GTA likes were the hot new thing, right? That games like that hadn't been done before. And I also remember my appetite for those was crazy at the time. It was just like, I will play any game that is even close to fine.
Yeah.
You know, like if you remember back in like the PS1, PS2 days where like Medal of Honor was a big deal and shit like that, or any Call of Duty game or any Battlefield game or any variety of shooter was like, people just ate it up, and like still do, to be fair, but there are much more like established giants in that genre now. So I think what he was saying was that like, this is the same thing, right? He's not saying that it makes sense the appetite's there, but this is a new genre, this kind of like cozy genre. And like, we should allow it to bloom in the way that we have with every other thing, right? Yeah. Like in his article, he had said like, people aren't that critical of action games, and like, there are plenty of derivative and, you know, similar kind of action games.
Third-person hack and slash.
Yeah, and we don't really like go after the genre for that reason. We're just like, this one's kind of unoriginal, right? But I think I personally am just in this kind of strange middle ground where I can see that these games are very similar to other games that I've already played before, but just there aren't that many good ones out there that are like really, really great. And so I still like playing these like very similar kind of games right now, right? Like, there aren't that many FromSoft games. And there's one Bloodborne, you know? And so when Liza P drops, I'm like, yeah, I think I would like some more there. Or in the similar case here, that Coral Island is a very good version of the farm simulating genre. It's just also very adherent to that genre.
Sure.
And so I think when I'm looking at like the best games that I have played this year, they are standouts in the genre that they take place in, right? Any of those games are like, wow, they're really doing something out here. And I think that they are either total absolute swerves of like, this is something I've truly never really experienced and defies genre in a lot of ways, or is deeply embedded in that genre, but is still original and very novel, right?
Yeah.
If we take Octopath, right? Like, it is a genre defining amount of turn-based combat. Like the quality of combat in there is just amazing, despite the fact it is, you know, an RPG, something that has come before. And so for that reason, I think it's just like, I have a hard time, or I've had a hard time comparing these different like genre entries, right? Because like my appetite for mid RPGs is pretty low, because I spent years of my youth playing fine RPGs, you know?
Yeah.
Because I was hungry for them, because I played Super Mario RPG or I played Final Fantasy VII, and I'm like, give me whatever is even close to that. But I've only, you know, played so many farming games, and only so many have been very good. And so when one is even good, be it derivative, I'm still like, yeah, I'll jump in there. And so I think Kyle's point and what I'm landing on after having played this game a little bit more is just like, I'm trying to let myself off the hook a little bit for enjoying this game while also acknowledging the fact that like, this isn't the most creative and splashy game of the year. It's just a well done version of a game, of a game in a genre that I am really enjoying.
Yeah, it's not fresh. It's not pushing boundaries, but it's a well crafted game and it's still fun. That is not precluded from being enjoyable or good, right?
Yeah. I think for, if this podcast existed like 15 years ago or whatever, I think a lot of what you would see in our like best games of the year or whatever would be stuff that is kind of similar to not a genre defining game or not something that is incredibly derivative or no, boundary pushing, right? Yeah. I think that, or even if you look at like what's coming up at the Game Awards and stuff like that, a lot of those are pretty quote unquote traditional picks for game of the year, right? It is, stuff that isn't always boundary pushing, and that's fine. I have no beef with that. Mm-hmm. But I think at least for my own taste and the people who I follow and like whose games of the year I'm interested in are the ones that are looking at like, what is the thing that has stood out and is pushing the boundary a little bit? And I think that's been the case for probably like 8-ish years or so. Yeah. Kind of since like the Automata push or any of the like, or maybe Gone Home. I feel like Gone Home is a good early indicator of like, here's something that is changing the video game landscape for me. Yeah. Journey even. So yeah, I think that like the point that I was building to there is just like, I think what I'm looking for these days in a perfect or like, the best game of the year is something that is challenging my expectations about a game.
Absolutely.
Whereas, yeah, I think that with this genre or even like the FromSoft like genre, a lot of what's being built right now is let's give the people more of this.
Yeah. Do you think that there is a hint of, they're just doing this because they know it'll sell sort of thing in there, like a capitalist sort of tint to it? Yeah.
It's possible. Kyle brought that up in his piece too of like, saying, do I think people are doing this because there's money in it or because there's an audience or because they genuinely want to make this game? His answer was probably all of the above,
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that's probably where I land too of I bet originally, like before Stardew kind of blew up, that there were some people who wanted to make these games. And there may be some people who wanted to make this kind of game and said like, nobody will buy this. Like, why even bother? And now that these games have exploded, they say, hey, there's a market for this. We can build this. Yeah. I tend to trust and believe in the good in people at my own fault. Yeah. And so I will almost always judge something as being the good end of something. So my reach is or my instinct is to reach for people want to make art and they're going to make art in the ways that serve them. And that like, if there is an increase in this, it's just that more people are allowed to do it because there's more money now, right? I'm sure that there are some publishers that are like, hey, we need to invest in cozy games as an aesthetic, We
need the cozy game battle pass. We need it all, baby. How do we get these people still cozy? 20 years from now, how do we do it?
How do we make Master Chief cozy? Can we sell him a cottage? Is that a thing?
Master Chief onesie, like fuzzy onesie with a cottage.
Captain Keys, I need to get to the Forward Unto Dawn so that I can get back to farming. Let's finish the farm.
Let's finish. Oh, that's beautiful. That's poetry right there.
Thank you, Dayquil, for that one. Yeah. Anyway, so I feel like I'm talking in circles, but the point being is that I think that these games existing, I am happy about that because I want more of them. Yeah. But that like I also am waited on bated breath for where this genre goes. Yeah. Where like when it starts to really like push and people are like, okay, I've had my fill of whatever kind of like similar Stardew Valley likes there are. What is the next thing that happens after that? Because like I do really love this genre and I think it's really amazing. And if you imagine how long third person shooters were around before like we started actually having like interesting stories in that field or whatever, I feel like there's still room to grow. And I am excited about where that road goes. Yeah.
And I think what you're really hitting on is that, the games that and any sort of media that pushes boundaries are rare, right? Because they give you something that you didn't know you wanted. And that's the trick, right? They iterate on something that has been tried and true for a long time, and they turn it on its head, or they look at it through a different lens, and you're like, wow, that really changes my perspective and a lot of people's perspective on this, you know? And what you're talking about, like when you're talking through all of these, you know, is this something that really should be like a game of the year worthy sort of deal? You know, I think about, you know, God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Because God of War 2018, I still think about that game. Ragnarok
constantly
is quite literally like the same engine, just done better with more variety. But I don't think about that game nearly as much as I do 2018 because it didn't feel as fresh. It wasn't this wow, sort of like took my breath away sort of moment that just shook me as like, oh wow, this is what a God of War game can be like. This is what a really well done, cinematic, challenging third-person hack and slash game with RPG elements can be. Yeah. So it's just different. It was God of War Ragnarok a great game, of course, but is it this, you know, watershed moment? No, it's not, because
not as much.
It is, you know, iterating on itself at that point. So it's just different. It's just different.
And it's also riskier to do the thing that 2018 did,
because you don't know if it's gonna pan out, right?
Yes, yeah.
So there's financial limitations to that too, and I think indie games can push that more, right? But like AAA games, hard to do. And
like kind of AAA or kind of indie, right? Because like there's still plenty of situations where somebody will make an indie game for like 3 years of their own personal time and it just flops, you know? Like that's a very common story. And so like there is maybe less like financial risk in the fact of like in the idea of like investment, but you've still put so much time into it that it's like I can see how that would be like why do the very risky thing when we could do something a little bit safer and maybe like get a little bit more interest in it.
Exactly. And you know, I think that going back to Lies of P at the very least, like if you're a studio that's trying to make to challenge like AAA games, it makes financial sense to derivate on something that is, you know, tried and true, build some financial capital, and then maybe try something riskier. So I'm really curious to see what the studio that made Lies of P will do for their next thing. Are they going to keep just doing derivations of very well-known and loved genres just in a very well done way? Or are they going to do something very different? They're going to take a swing for the fences and do their own thing. So I think maybe it's you know, maybe too early to tell, like, to say, oh, this studio just does this type of thing. You know, they haven't maybe had the resources to do what they want to do, since they don't have the backing of like these big corporations to do it quite yet.
Yeah, totally. I hope that they do something wild.
That'd be awesome. It's a well-made game.
It also makes FromSoft's run look even more shocking every time I look at it, because they're doing their own thing every time, and then they finally build like enough like trust with like Sekiro and Dark Souls 3, and then they're like, here's Elden Ring, a total swerve.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, here's open world version of this.
Yeah.
What?
Crazy.
Watershed moment.
Yeah, it was. It's wild. I was thinking a lot about how, like, you know, if you go see a local version of like a Shakespeare play or something like that, you can still walk away being like, hey, that was really good.
Yeah.
Right. But if you know, you're trying to convince the Tonys or whatever to be like, hey, my local version of Hamlet deserves a Tony, like, they might be like, I don't think so, dude. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah, the Ashland Shakespeare Festival isn't going to win any Tonys, that's for sure.
Yeah. And like, that's fine, right? Although it is very good, yes. Shouts out Ashland. Yeah, it's I want this genre to be something that isn't just defined by this like constant hunger for something totally original and totally new, because like, that's like a hard standard to hit, but and also that like that isn't the case, especially for theater, right? Like that the newness of something isn't always the thing that makes it good, right? Yeah. That a specific play's run of like, this is our take on it, or just by nature of them being different actors, this is going to come out a little bit different. I want there to be space for that. I think that there can be, but I also have to recognize that like that's not the most creative thing that's happening this year. And that for Game of the Year, the things that I do want to highlight are the stuff that's like very standout, that is doing something very different and risky. And anyway, here's our Game of the Year 2023. Yeah,
there you go. Lies of P.
Anyway, David, this will all bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Which is?
This time, and I'm almost positive one of us has brought this up before, it's sick games, David. It's playing games when you're sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feels good. Makes me forget about the blight that I'm currently stricken with.
Scarlet rot.
Yeah, I got scarlet rot. My body's sort of just falling apart in front of me. Still got Resident Evil 4.
Good game.
That's always there. I haven't talked about it. I'll talk about it next week, but I've been playing the Separate Ways DLC, which is very fun.
Nice.
Very good.
Nice.
Yeah. Did you play that game this year?
It's probably coming this holiday season for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It'll probably be a next year game. I just have so many games to play. Baldur's Gate has just sucked so much time out of me. I think we've played it for like 60 to 70-ish hours at this point, 80 hours at this point.
Baby.
That's a lot of gaming.
Baby.
That's a lot of gaming, baby.
That's a lot of gaming. Yeah.
But yeah, great game. No regrets.
Anyway, do you have something fueling your sense of optimism this week, David?
I do, Chase.
What is it?
It is how hard Nintendo goes for its characters.
Yeah, man.
No one loves Nintendo's characters, or no one loves their characters like Nintendo loves their characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bringing this up because of just how meticulously animated and like carefully and lovingly crafted these Mario Kart characters were for this this last DLC pack. They're all just they just give off this vibe of, hey, we care about what this character is supposed to represent in whatever they are in, and we're gonna make sure you get that feeling with that character here. Funky Kong is cool as fuck. Pauline is just classy as fuck. Diddy Kong is just a crazy little boy, just wild as fuck. It's great. It's just so good and feels so nice that they are so consistent with how they integrate their characters and characterize them and give them life throughout all the different projects that they put them in, which is numerous, right? It doesn't feel like they're ever like out of pocket with how they are represented or like their character assassinating them, right? It always feels like, no, that's in line with Wario. This is a Wario thing. Like, yeah, he's a greedy capitalist. That makes sense in WarioWare Inc., right? So it's just how consistent and thoughtful they are with their characters and utilizing them in games, and how many games they utilize them in, and how they give them just these unique flares. Personality is always just so wholesome to me because they just care so much, but also just so nice to see. I love consistency, right? And they're very consistent with their characters and how they craft them. Yeah, no, I feel it. Sony's not brave enough to put Sly Cooper in Road Rage or whatever, you know? There's not a lot of cross-pollination there. Exactly, right? No, none of the other big companies do that, but it's just Nintendo, and they have this, I don't know, Disney-esque feel to them about how they can craft these characters and use them and utilize them. It's impressive. Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's cool. It's good. Shouts out Waluigi. Shouts out Waluigi. Although apparently he was created by a different game company, which is why maybe Nintendo doesn't like him as much. I think I heard that on the Into the Aether podcast recently. Yeah, Camelot. I think the people who did Mario Tennis. This is a conspiracy. Yeah. There was also a dust up recently that and I think we had mentioned this when we talked about Mario Tennis, that they had proposed essentially Wa Peach, and Miyamoto was like, fuck no, dude. Wa Peach? Wa Peach, yeah. I think his quote was, I don't even want to see that. Just like what, like Evil Peach? Yeah, essentially. Whoever she would be. Hey, we already got Bowsette, baby. That's good. We good. I think the internet would collectively sort of implode from whatever the corporeal form of Wa Peach would be. I mean, the memes already kind of write themselves with the name Wa Peach. Yeah. Do you want to move on to our main thing, David? Yeah, let's do it. All right, cool. Let's do it. Welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them. Returning to a true good game. I hadn't even finished scooting my chair up, Chase. Yeah, sorry. It's just rude. Jump scare. Got you again. Got me again. Wasn't ready. This week we are talking about a game called Break Arts 2, which was suggested to us by TK. Wait. We did number 2? I almost sent Chase to the afterlife with that joke. Yeah, I got sent to the nether realm for a moment there. See, here's the thing. The first one is very hard to get a hold of. So I was like, no fucking way. Yeah.
are we going to get mixed up with this? And Breakarts 3 ain't even out yet. So there's no world where we fucked it up that bad.
Yeah, there's a third one coming out too, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, no, not a release date yet, but it is coming.
I dropped the trailer.
Before we get too far, can I hit you with some hot stats, David?
Please.
Hot stats.
So, here's the thing about this game. There's very little information about it on the internet.
Yes, yeah.
I tried to do a lot of research, and Moby Games is the only place that I can pull from. Usually I do a little combo of like Wikipedia for their info and then also Moby Games for reviews. But I will say Moby Games sometimes plays a little fast and loose with what it deems as like a fact.
Sure.
So
they don't source these facts, huh?
Sometimes like the source is just trust me, bro. You know,
my dad works at Breakarts too, so he knows. My
dad is Break. And he told me that we put out this game here.
My dad is Mr. Break.
Yeah. So anyway, just take whatever I'm about to say with a grain of salt because there's very little information, and the only source I have is a guy named Moby Games. So this game came out February 9th of 2018 for Windows and 2021 for PS4. So pretty big difference between when those were released from one another.
Yeah.
It was made by this company called Mercury Studio, which on Moby Games says the only game they made is this game.
They didn't make Breakarts 1.
Okay, so that's the question. I tried to find the information. It's not called Breakarts 1. There is a game called Breakarts Cyber Battle Racing, which I'm looking at it. It's Breakarts 1. It seems to be the game.
Yeah.
But it was a mobile-only game. It was just for, I think, Android and iOS. And the only source that I saw that said it was made by the same people was an article on noisypixel.net summarizing a press release from Playism, the publisher of these games, that BattleArts Cyber Battle Racing is going to end its support in August of that year.
Wow.
And they mentioned that, being developed by Mercury Studio. But even still, like it's hard to find the details about this video game.
Interesting.
On Steam, Breakarts 3, the, not released and doesn't have a release date game, says that it is being made by Mercury Studio. So maybe they're working on this one, but who knows? There was a total of one review of Breakarts on mobygames.com. One review. Normally when I go to pull reviews for these games, there's usually at least 10. I will say 10.
Hey.
It's a bigger game, probably closer to 20 at that point. One review. Do you have any guesses for who did this review, David?
I really hope it's Joe Video.
It was done by Joe Video, David.
No fucking way. They do it all. These guys. My God.
There's no game these guys won't review.
That is amazing. I love that the one review of Breakarts 2 is Joe Video, our boys.
Getting down in the slop, getting down in this unknown game.
They're really mining the depths right now.
So, of course, I took their review, ran it through Google Translate a number of times from one language into another to mangle it up real good until I spat it back out in English to get an artist's interpretation of their review, which I will read for you now, David. This game combines speed, mechanics, and gamers that you will love. After several days of testing, we have come to the correct conclusion. Artisan 2 has solid quality, a good robot, and the artificial intelligence is handsome and well designed. A powerful automatic rifle system. The absence of a tumor can make the game difficult. You can spend more time trying, making mistakes, and starting over than you can actually gaming. It can be confusing, but Atrium 2 is a unique break, so it can really help you find that missing piece of yourself. And they gave that one a 7 out of 10.
Man, they were really cooking on this one. They were really cooking on this one.
I love the in parentheses, a powerful automatic rifle system. It's not even a sentence. It's just in parentheses in the middle of the
on its own. Just pause.
Yes.
Powerful automatic rifle system.
They just were vibing on the idea of a rifle system.
I like to describe the AI as handsome.
Yeah. It's very, very good.
Handsome. It's just their grandma who wrote this review.
What
the AI system is so handsome.
David, what's this game?
Breakarts 2.
Yeah.
Is a mech battle racing game and customization game as well.
Yeah.
So you customize and at a pretty deep customization system, actually.
Dude.
You create these mechs.
Crazy.
They can have articulating parts, which is particularly cool. And then you create this mech. You spend like 20 minutes making this monstrosity of a thing that you can think up. And then you race it and shoot other mechs on a racetrack going like 300 miles an hour. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it.
That's most of it. Yeah.
That's pretty much it. There are some stipulations to how you create your mech. Like you have to have a specific amount of data to be able to to use on your mech. So you can't just like create 500 gigantic guns on your mech. That's cheating, the game says.
Yeah.
And of course, like when you're actually racing the game, you have to, there is some thought put into how you go around the track and how you fight against these different mechs on there. You can like zoom around, like face backwards and shoot at people if you're like in front of them, and then face backwards again and just keep going. And there is like an energy system as well as that your guns and your boosting all feed into. But pretty much at the core of it is you are making a virtual figurine essentially, and then you race it around a track and shoot other mechs with it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you got it. That's the video game.
Yeah.
What'd you think about this one? What'd you think about this game?
I don't know if you know this, but I did go through a pretty good figurine phase that did circle around my love of Gundam Wing as a child.
I don't think I knew this.
So this game hit me pretty hard, actually. I was like, wow, I get to do all the fun things that I did making these custom figurines when I was a child, but I don't have to spend hours meticulously painting them. That's tight. And then I got to go and race it around a track and fire at other mechs. Gundams, I just thought of them in my head.
Sure.
That's also pretty tight. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. I had no idea how to use the articulating portions of these mechs. It made no sense to me. So I just tried to create the coolest thing I could think of without doing that.
I also like had a hard time figuring out the character creator thing.
They don't give you a lot of information on how to use it.
I feel like it's also funny because they give you the tutorial and they're like, listen, dude, don't skip the tutorial. Like in there specifically, they're like, please do not skip
Please read.
Yeah. I read it and was still like, I don't know, man. I don't know about all this.
Yeah, right. It was a lot of words.
I essentially just made the tube, as I was calling it, just kind of a long boy.
Just the whole thing was tubular?
I was trying as hard as I could to just make it a tube with guns and rockets and shit.
I'm confused as to how you would make a tube in this game.
It wasn't easy, I will say.
Because the presets they give you are very angular, so you just smoothed it all out.
I tried to take away as many of the joints as I could because the joints were confusing. They were
scary. I didn't like them. They needed to go.
Yeah, it was unfortunately a vertical tube, which I can't imagine is very aerodynamic. But
vertical tube.
Yeah.
You got the VT going.
I got the popsicle stick with a rocket attached to the back of it.
My God, and the gun sticking out.
Yes, yeah.
The mech portion of it was hard to grok at what was going on because there's just so many parts. I did find myself much more able to interact with the gun component of the customization. I found that pretty fun. I just tried to make something wild and cool looking. I was just summoning Gundam Wing nostalgia. It was great.
Yeah, totally. I was definitely reminded of the parts that make the Armored Core game that came out this year good. Because you can customize that game, but a lot of it is pretty straightforward. A lot of it is here's the leg part, here's the chest part, or whatever. And I think for a specific person that this game is probably amazing because they do want that level of customization. Because you can truly make some wild shit in here. I was watching videos of example robots and shit. And I was like, how on earth did you make this thing? Mm-hmm. You kind of need a degree in CAD or Maya or something like that to do this really well. It seems like a tool rather than a game in there.
Yeah, my computer skills aren't high enough to be able to fully utilize this game. It feels like.
I played this on the PlayStation, and even that was kind of tough to use a controller to edit my robo, But I will say, the merciful thing is that the racing and shooting part very straightforward. Yeah, very easy to understand.
Yeah, super. You go quick as fast as you can. You make a good turn and you shoot people.
What's the thing that it says right at the beginning of a race? It's an artist imagine or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they call you artists in this game.
I love that. That was maybe the best part of the game for me, was that they called robot racers artists. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's such a weird in-universe thing for you to do.
Real artisans.
But I'm crazy about it.
Real artisans.
There's like also a suggestion of like wider lore in this game whenever I'm playing it, where there does seem to be like a fair amount of story going on, but they present almost none of it to you in like kind of traditional ways.
I just got the art of breaking from this. That's it.
It was like, I think in like the level descriptions or something like that, or the things like that, where they're like, this is a racetrack that used to be used by racers that didn't have any money or something like that. But now you're at the beginning of your career or something like that. And it's just like a suggestion, because like the game never has any like cutscenes or anything, right? It's just racing. The thing it says is, you're an artist, imagine. So fucking good. What does that mean?
It's provocative. It gets the people going, baby.
It got me going. Like, that's the perfect way to start, because that's the thing. It starts when you start racing. Right before Ready, Set, Go, it says you're an artist. Imagine. I think it's saying that like the race is your canvas. Yeah, which is just like so good.
Yeah, it like the only thing that reminds me of is the intro to the fights during Soul Calibur 2, where it's just like something completely unrelated to actually fighting, like some philosophical word vomit, and just all of a sudden like, okay, that makes me actually really ready to fight for some reason. Makes no sense, but I'm here for it.
One time when I was younger, my grandpa asked me to eat a Krispy Kreme and his dinner side. It's round 1. Fight.
Is that a real story?
No.
Oh, I mean, Krispy Kreme's pretty good though. I wouldn't deny my grandpa.
When I was younger, my grandparents' dog's name was Foo. What does that mean? Round 2.
Is that a true story?
A Foo was actually a dog we had.
F-O-O?
I think so. I actually don't know if I ever saw it spelled.
They're big Dave Grohl fans, I guess.
Yeah, big Foo Fighter heads.
Big Foo heads.
I'd love to like touch on just the aesthetic of this game, because it is truly bananas.
Yeah.
Like the levels are like the kind of one part F-Zero in a certain sense, like just totally flat but seemingly gigantic racing levels. And like none of what is being depicted looks like anything in real life, right? Like the ceilings are usually like these multicolor, nearly polygonal like figures. It doesn't look like anything in the real world. And pretty much everything else is just like neon bright lights, where the game is asking you to kind of like unfocus your eyes a little bit and just focus on like the curves and the directions, you know?
Yeah. Feels almost like cyber minimalism in a way.
Yes. Yeah. No, cyber minimalism is a great way to put that, where like the cyberpunk genre is like very bright and neon, but it's like kind of stripping a lot of that back. Yeah. It's like the ceiling looks like a PS1 game, despite the fact you have like a very detailed robot that you're fighting as.
Yeah, super detailed. The robots are very angular. The tracks are very rounded. It's kind of a fun contrast between the two.
Yeah, it's true. I also love that when you're going around corners, you can do like, you press L2 or R2 to like kind of like bump yourself farther into the turn.
Yeah, you do like an air brake almost, or an air push. Instead of drifting, you just do a little air blast, and you just like slide a little bit more and change your vector essentially. Yeah. To being a different position, which was fun. That was probably one of my favorite things about the racing component of this game, was that little intricacy of it.
Yeah, it was cool. It made it feel more like what I think the game is trying to communicate, which is just like so much speed that you can barely stay on the track. Yeah. It's very F-Zero of them. Yeah. I think F-Zero kind of communicates a similar idea with how it races. You're also always pressing on the gas. Like you don't have a choice in whether or not to be going forward. The game is just like, yeah, you're always going forward at least a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're moving, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Your choice is either go faster or turn and try and like bank.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I was going to say is that, yeah, it's definitely F-Zero, but it feels like the genre of like, it's the spiritual successor to F-Zero, Extreme G3, and Kinetica. You know, it's like that futuristic cyber battle racer, which doesn't really, we don't really have that entries in that genre anymore right now.
No, yeah, the Wipeout is a very...
The Wipeout as well, exactly, yeah.
That was the one that I was reminded of the most when I was playing it. It feels very Wipeout.
I see that, yeah.
It's this kind of like abstracted future racer where like, I'm not even really sure like what I am. You know, like, am I the mech?
Who am I? Yeah.
What are these people I'm racing? I'm not really sure. It's almost to the point where you're playing like Rez or something like that. Where
is this all a simulation? What's going on?
Yeah, the concepts of what is happening is like, it's very abstract, very like out there, which is cool. I like that's a fun concept for a game. This game feels like a game that should have come out on the Dreamcast and got ported to like the PlayStation 3 or something like that.
I see that. Yeah. It does feel like a Dreamcast game, doesn't it?
Yeah, where there is like, I feel like with a lot of those games, there is like this, it is rooted in an arcade game almost.
Sure.
And there's a simplicity to a lot of those games where a lot of them are, you boot it up and play the game and like, that's the game. You just have to either play it more or play it again or play it with friends. And like, that's the deal. And that feels kind of similar here too, where like, if you race one of these games, that's it, man. That's the video game.
Mm-hmm.
You just can do it some more if you want to. And I think especially in some of the world designs that they're putting forth, there's one level in specific where you're kind of like up above the clouds almost, and it's just this like totally blue sky area, and you're racing on this like almost blue glass looking material.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
God, it looks like a Dreamcast game. Like,
yeah.
It just feels straight out of something out of like 1999.
Yeah, every like an aesthetic for the levels is like shards, like shardy. Everything feels thin and breakable.
Mm-hmm.
Like at any moment, the whole entire place is just gonna explode into
shatter.
Shatter, not explode, but shatter into pieces. Yeah. Right, it feels fragile. It's an interesting aesthetic to go for, but they nail it.
Yeah, it does feel fun. Part of me wishes that there was like more of this game, because like I think that it is very neat, and what it's doing is just like so cool. But I think they put so much effort into the creator of the robot that I'm like, where like I would love for there to be other parts of this game other than that, because like obviously there's racing and there's like cups and stuff like that, but I feel like you could do a lot here. You know?
Yeah, no, I think so, and I was interested to watch the trailer for Break Arts 3, and I think they're going for that in the next one. You know, a little bit more combat focused. You can jump and hover a bit, which you can't really do in this game. It's more just racing around the track. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they expand on this one.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the first one was a mobile game, and I think you can kind of feel that heritage here.
Yeah.
It seems like there is a pretty limited amount of input that you can do for this game, and that it is simplified to account for that. That like maybe this was also a mobile game at some point. I have nothing to confirm that or deny that, but like at the very least, they have already built a game, supposedly the same company. They've already built a game like this on a phone, and so conceptually it's like, you know, maybe they just try and port forward that kind of game. But I would hope that with the third one, maybe they get a little bit more accustomed to, you know, what other stuff can we do with like all the different kinds of... Yeah, controller. Like what else is available here?
Yeah.
Not that this kind of game needs to be complicated, because like Mario Kart is pretty straightforward and is very fun, but I would still say that there's a lot more to Mario Kart than this. TK had said something similar in his like comment about this game. It essentially said like, it's an interesting, weird game, but it's not very big, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Which I think does make sense. Like it is shockingly complicated with the robot builder.
Yeah.
But like, it's not huge. It does feel kind of like a mobile game with all of the microtransactions stripped out of it.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Like, they gave you all of the things that you would buy for the customization components, just as like unlockables, right? As you just like go to the game, and then it feels almost top heavy in a way.
Yes,
right. That the pyramid of how it's balanced is off. Like they should have put a little bit more emphasis on fleshing out the racing and the combat, as opposed to like having this just exceptionally complex mech customization component to the game, which honestly I did love. Like it really made me feel like, hey, this is for people who really enjoyed like figurine making when they were younger. and like having that ability to create articulating parts as they see fit, even though I really didn't understand how to do it in this game. But it's going after a certain niche audience, and I'm curious to see if the third one is going to go for a broader audience by fleshing out the actual gameplay itself, which, you know, in and of itself is fun in this game, but doesn't like keep you around for a long time, really.
Yeah, it feels like you've kind of, or at least I felt like I had experienced most of what it had pretty quickly.
Yeah. It almost feels like the gameplay is just there for you to see how cool your mech looks when it's in action.
Yeah.
As opposed
Which is effective.
Don't
cool.
get me wrong, right? As opposed to being its own unique component to the game.
Do you think that they meant a pun by saying break karts? Like it's a kart racing game?
I don't know, but I hope they did.
I hope they did too. I hope they meant break karts. That's pretty fun.
Brea Karts?
Brea Karts. Aya Brea Karts from Parasite Eve 1.
La Brea Karts. We're going into the goo.
Oh God.
That's a La Brea Tar Pits joke for anybody who doesn't get it.
Shouts out all the people in LA who got that one so right.
Shout out the SoCal folks.
It reminds me, part of this game reminds me of Steel Battalion, that like game for the Xbox that like
came with the big old controller.
Yeah, the like 40 button controller where they were going so hard on that one part of the game that it seemed like other parts of it kind of got left behind.
Yeah.
And like there was this interview with Gabe Newell that came out kind of recently where he was talking about how they had to try and strike a good balance between fun and realism in the games that they were making. Because he's like, I always had to argue with people because they're like, oh, that's not realistic. And he's like, yeah, but what's realistic is going and making a list at home for the stuff that I need at the grocery store. That's not fun. I don't want to do that.
Gabe knows.
We need to, yeah. And so I think part of this game reminds me of that, where they have designed such a like competent and interesting system that isn't necessarily all that fun.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Feels like model making.
Yes. Yeah. And like, I wonder, like, maybe you could just make that game, you know, like make the model making game, because they have that here. It's so impressive. But at the same time, like for me being a guy who's coming to this for the racer, I don't really enjoy that quite as much, you know? I don't know. It's I still found a lot of fun in this game. I think I see the amount of care that was given to a part of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it would be sick if they did that for the whole game, you know, for the whole damn thing.
I think that's what they're going for with 3.
Or just make the model making game. That's also fine.
See, that's the thing, is that I feel like there is a component to making models that is so tactile that I don't know if you could really make that satisfying in a game, because then you close down the game and then the model's gone, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you make a model in real life, you have it in your hand. You can like put it up somewhere, make it like on display or something. But I don't know, maybe that's just me being an old head. Who knows?
Maybe it could be that like there's a contingent of people that like a VR game could be putting together a model, and that's fun.
Absolutely. Possible.
I'm pretty sure there is a Lego game coming out for Quest pretty soon, which I'm interested in.
You got to have the model making game so that you can display your models in your metaverse home.
Dude, yeah, Zuck is going to be so impressed by my Lego Millennium Falcon and my Gundam Wing collection.
Yeah, whenever a home is first sold in the metaverse, you get 1 month to spruce it up before the housewarming party, where it's just you and Zuck hanging out in there, so you can show them whatever you have.
Do you want to show me your collection of models that you've made in the metaverse?
That's a totally normal human thing to want to see, right?
I would like to see the interior of your meta house. I don't think I have a good Zuck. I don't think I can...
I don't know what he sounds like.
His sort of robotic voice well enough.
It is very robotic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like a specific timbre to it. He has a lack of human qualities in there.
This is what my research team told me I should sound like when I'm up here. That's the least threatening tone I could take with anyone. So this is what I'm going to sound like.
That's pretty good. I thought that was better than mine. That's a pretty good Zuck.
I'll take it. I'll do the Zuck here.
Thank you. Thank you for putting your life on the line.
You're welcome.
Oh man, yeah, it's right there. You've got it.
I think it's just corporate speak. I think is really what it is.
I should be better at that. I work in that sector.
You sure do. We're gonna circle back to this later.
I don't even know if Zuck would say that, but you did get the verbiage correct there.
Thank you.
Anyway, hey TK, thank you for your suggestion of Break Arts 2. What a strange game, huh?
Yeah, I enjoyed playing this one. I had no idea this type of game existed.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't know this game existed or this type of game existed.
Yeah, new genre.
Real PS3 core, this one.
It did feel like a PS3 game. Absolutely.
I feel like we covered these kinds of games a lot more earlier in the show. Like we did Extreme G3 Racing, and like that. We did Kinetica at some point.
Yeah,
I feel like this was kind of a thing for a while. So it is kind of wild to return to this type of game that came out in 2021 for the PS4. Like, this is a very recent release.
That is recent. It feels almost like they're doing a homage in a way.
Yeah. I wonder how intentional that sort of stuff was, because it does feel like this is a type of game.
That is my question as well. Was the homage intentional, or was it just a happy accident? Who knows?
You're just making a big robot go around track, you know?
Make the big robot go vroom.
I want to.
It's fun.
It is fun.
Feels good.
Anyway, thank you, TK.
Yeah, thank you. Hey everyone, if you want to check us out on the internet, you can go to podtimism.com, where you can do any number of things, such as look up past episodes, look at our podcast art that Chase has lovingly created for you.
Yes.
You can search different games that you may want to hear us talk about on there that we have talked about in the past. And you can also suggest games for us to play in the future, or suggest us to do like any number of bits as well. This is a variety show, according to our tag in the beginning. So yeah, go there. It has a couple links to social media as well for us, but and then also a link to the Worst Garbage Discord channel, which is probably the best place to get in contact with us and to just engage with the community that has sprouted up around this podcast.
Yeah, it's true.
Great spot.
It's a good time in there.
It's a good time. It's a fun spot.
Yeah, it's a fun spot.
Also, thank you, Scout Wilkinson, for the beautiful podcast art. We love it. It is amazing. You can go and see if her commissions are open at co-fi.com/humblegoat. Chase is checking right. Chase, are her commissions open?
Her commissions right now. You got 3 slots left. Be careful.
3 slots left. It's almost holidays. It is the holidays. If you want to get a commission for a loved one of something, now's the time. I don't know if it would be available at that point. I don't want to put any time constraints on Scout.
True.
But so, maybe see if she could do it. But if not, hey, the art takes time. So get off her back. Anyways.
Hey, Dad, I got you an icon drawn by Scout Wilkinson. And he'd be like, damn, son, that's so fucking cool. I love Scout's work. Yeah. I'm already a follower.
Yeah. And he's going to...
I listen to Paws and Claws.
Paws and Claws. It's a great cast.
It is. They just started season 3. It's very fun.
Ooh.
Check it out.
New season. Always good. Oh, if you really want to help out the cast, you can leave a review on your podcatcher of choice, Apple Podcasts or any of the others. We really appreciate it. We read them. We're always touched, no matter what it is. And if it's one day a bad review, we will take that criticism as well. Don't be afraid to criticize us. That is totally fine. Also, thank you, dear listener, for spending your hard-earned free time with us. It is exceptional that people do this. And also, just an aside, I'm just so honored and flabbergasted of how many end of the year top lists that we have made of how much people have listened to our podcast. To be in the top 5 and to be even people's top 1 every now and then is shocking to me. So thank you so much. Truly, truly flattering. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks a ton. It is flabbergasting is the correct word. I have heard Stephen at Into the Aether describe before that like it's strange because sometimes I forget that this thing that you and I do exists outside of this Discord call.
Yeah.
He said that before too, and I totally agree that like we do this. I'm barely looking at the fact that we're recording. I edit it and then send it out to the internet. And like there's some people that talk about it in this Discord, and that's really cool. But I forget just how much that actually does come through for some people, people do actually like check in on that.
Yeah.
Tune in day after day or week after week. And that's, super flattering, very humbling. Feel very humbled about
absolutely.
that. So yeah, thank you. It's great. I can't believe it. And thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And on that note, Chase, do you have any video game wisdom for us this week?
Yeah. If you know that you're just getting sick and you're starting at the top of a bottle of Dayquil, like the liquid kind, you don't really need to worry about putting it in the little cup to drink out of it.
But you're free swigging Dayquil? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you just drinking Dayquil out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow.
Oh no. Does that rhyme?
Singing Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, is that video game wisdom? Is that wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, it helped me play video games. I played Octopath Traveler 2, just like ripping Dayquil.
All right,
you know?
Get high on Dayquil and play Octopath, everyone.
Not more than they ever suggested, because like I'm not trying to blow up my liver spot, you know? But like, you know what a cup feels like after you've been taking Dayquil for so many years. Like, just like one good sip is all it takes.
So let me ask you this question: Dayquil or Pepto-Bismol? Which one do you prefer?
Which one do I prefer to drink?
Yeah.
Oh, Pepto by a country mile, David.
It's true. Yeah, I see that.
It's so much better. The lovely thick texture, the wonderful flavor, the minty delicious flavor.
I hate this. The artificial pink.
Yeah, I love the color. The color is really fun. Dayquil's, the texture is not bad, but the flavor is tough. It definitely tastes like medicine.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
But unfortunately, you also, if you've got the liquid one, you at least don't have to deal with like coated in razor blades version of it, where it's like the pill form, where you have to like pluck it out of the sort of like torture chamber that they keep those things in. They're just like so sharp in the little like packet that they package those Dayquils in.
It's sharp?
Yeah, like the packaging. When you like pull it apart, it's like very sharp.
Like the little individual packaging.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get you.
Shit sucks. And they're like, what would a sick person love to interact with? Something challenging to do that hurts maybe if you do it wrong.
They just got to know how much you want it. How badly you want this pill, baby?
Do you want this NyQuil or not, man? You got to earn it.
Actually, Dayquil and NyQuil are owned by Jigsaw. Just like, hey, if you want it, you got to get through some shit.
Do you want to feel a little better?
How'd you have a Jigsaw just locked and loaded, ready to go?
I'm not sure. I don't know. That's the power of Dayquil, baby.
That's a good one. It's the power of Dayquil, baby.
Does your tummy hurt a little bit?
The sun is in your hand, Dayquil.
Is that a Boktai reference?
That is a Boktai reference.
Damn.
You got it.
We covered that game like 100 episodes ago.
That was a while ago. I still think about Boktai.
Yeah. No, Boktai
one of my favorite taglines, honestly.
The sun is in your hands.
Yeah. Solar powered game.
Solar powered game, just like me. Solar powered gamer.
Chalby,
the Dayquil guy. All right, that's enough free advertising for Dayquil.
Yeah, right.
See you later, gamers.
See ya.
Bye.
TWG, the worst garbage, online.